Hi there, and welcome to the RevOps Show. It is our 100th episode. Can you believe it? Honestly, when we started, we weren't sure we would make it here, but here we are, and it's all thanks to you. None of this would have been possible without our incredible listeners, so thank you for being part of the journey with us. Whether you're just tuning in or you've been with us from the start, we want to invite you to join the RevOps fam. Follow us on your favorite listening platform and give us a rate if you haven't yet. Today is a super special episode. Doug and Jess are taking a walk down memory lane, sharing their favorite episodes, how their mindset has evolved, what's changed since we started recording back in 2021, and what they see coming down the road. You know, like I've said 100 times now, let's jump into it.
Jess.
Doug.
How are you today?
I'm good.
This is my back from vacation episode.
This is your back from vacation episode. We're recording first thing in the morning for me. Not so much for you.
Second thing in the morning for me.
Yeah, you had an 8 a.m. call that I won't talk about what it was, but I would not want to have at 8 a.m. I'm just saying.
I have a question for you, Jess.
Yeah.
What do you call a Broadway performer with salt and pepper hair?
I don't know. What do you call a Broadway performer with salt and pepper hair?
A well-seasoned actor. And you know
Did you get your cards? You got your cards!
You know whose fault that is?
Did you like your gift?
I did.
Happy early birthday. Tomorrow is Doug's birthday, everybody.
I did. It actually was, what do you call a movie star with salt and pepper hair? But
it works with Broadway though. You modified it for me.
Knowing the theater person you are, on the fly. So it's 100 jokes, right? So we've got, let's see.
What kind of jokes though?
Oh, dad jokes. Are there any other kind of jokes?
What kind of dad jokes though? They're emergency dad jokes.
Emergency dad jokes. There you go. That's a good point.
Yeah.
There are so many great things about Switzerland. Did you know that, Jess? Their flag is a big plus. Oh, this is great. 100 cards with emergency dad jokes. And on the back, room for you to write your own emergency dad jokes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
I
saw it and thought of you, thought you would appreciate it.
We are ready to rock. We are ready to rock. Jess?
Yeah.
Jess, today is a special day. Today is a special episode.
It is very special. A very special episode.
Although I'm actually a little bit torn as to whether or not it really is this episode. This is the 100th episode of the RevOps Show, officially.
It is. Yes.
But we had 6 best of episodes.
Okay, why are you going to do that?
Because that confused me when I went back and looked, because the number of pages was off. I was very confused.
I see. There have been a few times that we've recorded. I mean, there have been a few times we've talked at each other and not recorded.
Has it been more than twice?
It hasn't been more than twice. I think there's at least one, if not 2 episodes we decided not to publish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true too. Well, okay.
Yeah, so this is probably pretty close to the 100th recording.
Yeah, no, this is officially the 100th episode.
Yeah.
Jess, it all started in mid-January 1967. But
as we've covered previously.
I had to explain that to my kids, by the way.
Okay, anyway, let's move on.
November 10th, 2021 was episode 1 of the RevOps Show, Jess.
Wow. 3 years ago.
Just a little bit less than 3 years ago. So we're averaging 34 to 35 episodes a year. I think that's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Jess,
I mean, this is not our full-time job.
Did you think we were going to hit episode 100 when you...
Probably not. I don't know that I thought too much about this. You know this. I don't remember if we really talked much about this early on. I was extremely nervous to do this when we started. I did not really want to do this when we started.
I know.
I was like, okay, I guess I will. I'll try. I think I said I'll try. I'll try it.
Well, as I know you remember, but for those who haven't been with us from the beginning, this actually started as a different show.
It did. Yes.
Right. And so you were going to be, it was me and somebody else, and you were going to be the kind of facilitator between the two of us.
It was.
And then that didn't work. So I'm like, Jess, let's just you and I do it. And you're like, well,
yeah.
Okay, maybe Doug will lose interest after one or two.
That thought had crossed my mind.
But you're now like a veteran podcaster. And I don't mean like a veteran podcaster that you've done 100 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have multiple podcasts.
I do have multiple podcasts now. Yeah.
So would you have ever done your Disney podcast if you hadn't done this one?
I don't think I would have. And there's another podcast that I'm actually thinking of doing with a different friend of mine. So I may have
doing
three podcasts.
Third podcast?
I may have 3 podcasts. Yeah.
Holy cow! Well, what's that podcast going to be about?
It's gonna be a rewatch podcast of like stuff when we were in the like the late 90s, early 2000s when we were kids. Yeah.
Is this still, what went wrong ripoff? Is that what
we're still working it out? It's not a what went wrong ripoff, which we are not sponsored, but great podcast.
Am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say what went wrong ripoff, or is that did I violate a copyright term?
I don't think you violated any copyright term, and our audience is not their audience, but maybe we're throwing some folks their way, so I'm sure they wouldn't be upset.
Our audience watches movies.
They do watch movies. Yes, they do.
And lots of things go wrong. As a matter of fact, you know what? I think what went wrong could equally apply to a RevOps podcast as it could to a podcast about movies.
It could. So let me flip the question back to you. Did you think we would still be doing this? Do you think we would have made it to the 100th episode 3 years ago? Did you think that?
I wanted to make it to the 100th episode. I don't know if I thought we were going to make it to the 100th episode, because the podcast that I did before this one was the Black Line podcast with Mike.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I should probably look. I think we got to like 91.
Oh, really?
And I remember thinking, man, we got to get to 100. We got to get to 100. But I mean, the frequency had really dropped. We got to 87, episode 87.
I thought you guys got to 100. Wow.
No, we didn't.
It felt like more to me. I don't know why.
Well, every episode felt like it was 3 episodes. So on that basis, we got to episode 250.
Yeah.
And I remember really trying to, and I almost had a conversation. I'm like, hey, let's at least get to 100. And then I said, you know what? If we do this, and this was just when we were starting up the RevOps Show. And I said, if we do this, we're just kind of doing it to get it to 100 episodes. And I felt like that didn't meet, like that wouldn't be authentic. That wouldn't be an authentic 100 episodes. So I like getting to 100 episodes is hard.
It is.
You run out of things to talk about after about the 5th episode. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, it's also like I said, like the scheduling thing is crazy for this, because this is not our full-time job. Like it's so like making the time to plan for. And
but if we could get sponsors and make it our full-time job,
we would be happy. We'd be so happy.
I'd even be willing to do 2 episodes a week.
If we could get sponsors and this be our full-time job, I would also be willing to do this 2 times a week.
So there you go, everybody. You have it out there. If you want more RevOps Show episodes, just sponsor us to the point where Jess and I don't have to do anything else, and we're there. We are there. We are there. So
you're gonna scare our team. Just
100 episodes, Jess.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your favorite episodes?
Yeah, so I went through. I pulled a couple. So I think what to expect when you're expecting a CRM series was really great. We put a lot of work into that one. I think you can tell when you listen to it. You in particular put a lot of work. Like the outline for that one was wild, because we knew it was going to be multiple. When we started it, if I remember correctly, we didn't actually know how many it was going to be.
I think we thought it was going to be 2, maybe 3.
And it ended up being
into 6.
It was 6. Okay. I was like, was it 5? Yeah. So.
Well, it was 5. And then when we were done, there was like, wait, there's one more.
That's right. So it was 5 on
pilot or not to pilot.
It was 5 on the outline, and then we added a 6th after we had the conversation. So I think that one's really good.
Well, if you remember though, Jess, the outline grew in the second episode.
Yeah, I do remember this journey we were on. Is RevOps Wartime Disciplines a really good episode? That's
you got to
go back. You got to go back for that one. And that one, I remember when we did it, I was thinking, is this going to stand the test of time, or are we too like honed in on the moment? And like it, I think it's still applicable today, certainly. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And then this one might be the one that changed, and I'm going to talk a little bit about mindset change at some point. This one might be the one that changed my mind on database. In the Pursuit of Perfect Database is those second 2 you have to go back because they're earlier episodes, but that one's.
My big observation from all this is I don't think we've spent enough time talking about data or databases on the RevOps Show. I'm being sarcastic, everybody.
Yeah. What are your favorites?
Well, what did it change your mind? How did it change? What was your mind shift?
So, like we're jumping ahead a little bit. One of my takeaways overall.
I'm sorry. This is the what were you wrong about? Go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is, but that's okay.
Do you want me to save it?
Yeah, let's save it.
Okay, let's save it. Okay.
What are
So what I did, I have 99 favorite episodes.
Lord.
I love and appreciate each episode of the RevOps Show.
Is this like choosing between your children?
Exactly.
For you?
Exactly. I have a lot of children. So I went back and what I thought about was I decided to take a little bit of a different twist and look at what were some of underappreciated episodes.
Okay.
Like we don't think of all that often. So the first one that came to mind was keeping score in the infinite game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was I think that's an episode worth going back and listening to. Of course, I think all the episodes are worth it. But I don't mean to insult you other episodes. You're great too. The behavioral science episodes. Actually, that's something I want to get back to.
Yeah.
I think, it's interesting because we still, for a discipline that's all about behavioral science, how little people know or understand, and how the danger I got a new term today, the memification of Daniel Kahneman. And I've noticed this a lot in the last 6 months. The number of references I've seen or heard to Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. And what I mean by this, so there are these, system 1, system 2, and the number of people that a lot of people don't even know. A lot of if you're in RevOps and I say system 1, system 2, and you don't know what I'm talking about, then that's a problem for RevOps.
Yeah.
Right. System 1 thinking, system 2 thinking. But the number of people who heard it and kind of, jump on it, but don't really understand the implication, which in some ways is worse than not knowing. So I think that those episodes where we go into the different behavioral science principles and how they impact in different ways and different things, those are fun episodes.
Yep. So I think one thing that's interesting on that, and we hit on this in our team meeting yesterday. So you and Ash were talking about influencing folks. And one thing on the behavioral science episodes that it's going to get me thinking about them a little bit differently, probably. Some of those look like they would be sales focused. So like, how do you influence? But that applies to service. That applies to a RevOps person who's trying to influence their CEO, CRO, about what they should be doing. Like, so that's one thing on those. It's actually something I was thinking about last night. That conversation we were having.
Well, when we talk about influence, you're only influencing someone if you're impacting their behavior.
Right.
And really all RevOps is about, all systems are about is to influence and guide behavior. And so if you don't understand what leads to behavior, I'm actually listening to this, what's starting off sounding like a really interesting book. The Hour Before Dog and Wolf. And it's all about the mindset of people. So it basically follows traders, and it's the mindset and the neurochemistry of risk and how you deal with risk and how you manage risk and do these things around risk. I didn't know this apparently. So the hour before, had you ever heard of the hour before Dog and Wolf?
I've heard the term. I don't know what it means, honestly.
So it's the hour of dusk.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's a French saying. It's the hour where you can't tell the difference between dog and wolf, and it's the transformation. It's when the dog could become wolf.
Yeah.
And, dogs are wolves.
Mm-hmm.
I got my ghost wolf running
Your
around.
dog is definitely a wolf.
I think the customer success episode is way underappreciated. I don't think it's necessarily an episode that people are going to love. It's not, but it's what's wrong with the customer success. Customer success people are super well intentioned, and they're just not being put in a position to be successful. And what I'm seeing is the more people are implementing so many of these modern CSM, because it's flawed, they're actually creating the opposite action or reaction that they want. And then the other one that and I can't believe I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember the last time I used the term, is probabilistic.
Oh yeah.
Moving to probabilistic, and how RevOps is a probabilistic discipline, not a deterministic discipline. So those are some of my favorite episodes, or at least what I think are some of our underappreciated episodes.
Cool.
All right, Jess. So why don't you tell us what you change? So how did that database episode change your?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had mindset shifts on a few things, because this podcast has allowed us to wrestle and rumble with some ideas. But the biggest one is probably the goal of a perfect database, and that the goal with database, and I would even spread that out to CRM implementation, is not perfection. That's not what we're striving for, and it's not a reality. Like you can't get there. I have been saying more and more frequently to folks, the only way you can have a perfect clean database is not to have a human touch it.
Just have one record.
One record, right? So
it is clean. We keep it up to date. It is.
So that is really changed. So it's about.
So what did you think before?
I really felt like you needed clean data, whatever that actually means. Good luck. So the data needed to be completely accurate. The right, quote unquote, good data needed to be in. The bad data needed to be out. Not at all in the database. Everything had to be clean and neat and tidy. The way you clean your house when people come over. Like that's how I thought about the database.
Wait, isn't the way you clean your house before people come over, you just throw everything into closets and shit, so that when they leave, you just open up the doors and everything goes back to where it was?
Right. That's actually more accurate for how it should be. Like you need to ignore the mess.
Actually, I just came up with the greatest visual of what the perfect database is.
What?
Curling.
What?
Curling.
Curdling. Okay.
CURLING. The sport on ice.
Oh, curling. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So you have the sweepers that are just ahead of the rock. So the rock is the database that's being used, and you have the two sweepers that are getting it just so that the data can be used, and and the rock gets to where you want it to go.
Yep.
Right. Isn't that a great visual for what the?
It is. Yeah.
Right. And then because by the way, once the rock's gone past the point, it's right back to. It goes right back to. And again, it's all about. What I think people miss is we're solving for action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're not solving for inspection.
Yeah.
Oh, I just made that up. That should be a new Dougism.
We're solving for action, not inspection.
Not inspection. That's a good one, isn't it?
That is good. It is good.
Episode 100, the one where Doug falls in love with his own ideas more than usual. So we actually have one episode where we were wrong. It's a good episode, but we were actually wrong.
Oh, what episode is that?
And we kind of inferred that it was probably wrong. It was the about Google getting rid of cookies.
Oh, yeah.
And they're officially not getting rid of cookies.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
want cookie?
I forgot about that. Go ahead.
Cookie! Nom, 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 oh, nom, 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 nom.
How could you even think about getting rid of cookies?
Where have you had any mindset shifts or changes in opinion through episodes of the show? I know you're never wrong, Doug. Other than that episode, I blame Drew.
No, I think most of the conversation is still pretty on point. I think I think the thing where I've changed, so much of the RevOps show for me and the power of the RevOps show for me, and to give people an insight into what drives our topics probably more than anything, are I use the show to get some clarification around how I think about it. So like my thinking has evolved. I mean, I felt really arrogant and egotistical on reviewing this because I really wanted to find something where I said this, and boy, I turned out to be wrong. But I think aspects around CRM use, I think I've changed a little bit of I think I came a little bit too hard on. Oh, I actually have one place where I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I'd get there. I said, if you have an admin, you're doing something wrong. Now, I think what we've been trying to do is to change what the definition of admin is.
Yeah.
And obviously now that we provide admin services, clearly I no longer stand behind that statement. But yeah, I think the whole aspect of, I think I came down hard on adoption, and I said adoption was wrong. It's utilization. I think one of the things I've changed is it's, adoption, so long as it's step one towards utilization. Right. So I think degrees and angles.
Yeah.
I probably come out like if you played back episodes to me, I think like anyone who wants to listen to the episodes will be able to find things where I said this one time and I said something else another time. And that's because on these episodes, I think I speak with a little bit more absolutism than I probably even believe in that moment. So my thinking has evolved, but I can't think of, I think we've actually been, Jess, we started talking about RevOps in 2018. We've been doing this for 6+ years. We're the first company to offer outsourced RevOps services. We've been pretty spot on. I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back, but we've been pretty spot on. As a matter of fact, you're seeing, things that we've been saying about AI, some of the skeptical things we've been saying about AI, you're seeing more. We're seeing that enter the mainstream more. You're seeing these RevOps quote unquote applications now that, hey, we've gotten to a more difficult operating environment. So I think that actually we've been pretty good in terms of, in fairness, when we started the show, we agreed we weren't going to make this about making predictions. Yeah. We weren't predicting the future of RevOps so much as we were talking about. The whole point of the show is what's it sound like when Doug and Jess are talking about shit and in general, what if people could eavesdrop on that conversation?
Yep.
So I think the nuanced element and I will tell you, the other thing too, as we've moved up market ourselves and we're getting into deeper phases, just the mammoth job, and this is why you really have to triage your priorities. Just the mammoth job of keeping the resilience and flexibility within an organization, enabling the uniqueness of individuals to, I mean, the whole reason to have a sales organization is for uniqueness of individuals, but maintaining order in what is inherently a chaotic. That was another one, riding the RevOps tornado. That was another underappreciated episodes. And I think that, just an appreciation for the RevOps tornado.
I had two things I wanted to share on where I think we were most right.
Only two?
Two in particular. One is specific
I can think of 99
to it.
things.
I know you can. One is tied to, I think, one specific episode, although we probably hit on it in a couple places. Another one is pretty broad. So I think the conversations that we've had around source of truth versus system of record, and one thing on this is I'm really on our team right now about using those terms in the right places. So maybe this is bias there, but I do think us defining the two and talking about when you use source of truth and when you use system of record. And I find myself using system of record more and more frequently, because that's really what we're talking about oftentimes when we're talking about that's one piece. And then a theme we've seen throughout is there is no magic wand around metrics. Like you don't just put metrics in place and are able to see things easily and run your business. When you're thinking about metrics, you need to be thinking about outcomes. You need to be thinking about, what hypothesis are you trying to, what questions are you trying to answer? What's your hypothesis? How is that driving action? I think, and we see this a lot because we do CRM implementations. It's like, okay, just give me the dashboards and the reports, put it in, and I'll be able to see everything, and that'll drive action. That's not actually how that happens. There's more thinking that needs to go around from a business process standpoint when you're putting, metrics, reports, dashboards into place.
I don't think I've used this term before, metrics decay. The moment you choose a metric, its effectiveness begins to decay.
Yeah.
That's the implication of Goodhart's law. The moment because the moment you put the metric on the board, it now becomes the score, right? And the reality is, this was a black line episode, but I remember one of our guests, I got into an argument. We were talking about data, and I'm like, yeah, but that correlates with success. He's like, what's wrong with correlating with success? And I was like, I don't know. Right. It's like, oh, wait, what? And this again goes back to, we're solving for action. We're solving for outcomes in an imperfect world, in imperfect information. And the problem is, once you choose a metric, you just naturally begin to incentivize behaviors to over focus on that as the purpose. And this is where you get, the model, or the map is not the terrain. The model is not reality. And so I think that's a really important thing. I think the whole aspect of, when you're using data to aid thinking, it's valuable. When you use it to replace it, it's dangerous. Yeah. I think the place where we've been most right is the whole plot about RevOps. I think that RevOps is still on the, still in the hype area of, if we want to think about Gartner's hype cycles. I think it's moving. I think it's beginning to move down the trough of disillusionment. I think RevOps really, it's funny because one of our clients yesterday had, they hired somebody who's kind of serving as their admin. And he mentioned that he had been on the webinar that I did with Mark Killens and the TAC crew. Yep. And he said, yeah, he's like, I had to look up what RevOps was. I'd never heard of RevOps. And I appreciated that he said that. Because, I can't get away from the word RevOps. Right. But I was wearing my Just Say No to Shitty RevOps shirt on a plane or getting on a plane, and the flight attendant was like, "What's RevOps?"
Yeah.
Right. And my point here. No, by the way, I mean, I don't know that a flight attendant should know what RevOps is. Like, there's
Yeah.
probably many things I'd rather have them pay attention to than say RevOps. I was going to say something really obnoxious, but even my filter filtered out what I was about to say. We're in such this. I mean, all these people that are running around like RevOps. I mean, I saw something you said. I've changed my mind. I was wrong. I used to say, companies with fewer than X number of people don't need RevOps. And I'm like, we're in such this echo chamber that RevOps people see the continual importance of RevOps because everyone that they follow who's in RevOps talks about the importance of RevOps. And probably less than 1% of the world has any idea what that the word even exists, let alone what the meaning of it is. So it's still understanding what is the business purpose. And by the way, call it whatever the hell you want to call it. What's the underlying structure? Like when we're talking about structures and systems and methodologies, then we'll know that RevOps has hit. But we're not talking about those things. We're still talking about RevOps. So you said there's no magic wand of metrics. There's no magic wand of RevOps. There's no magic wand.
Yeah.
There is a lightsaber. I think you own some of them. But
I do.
There is no magic wand.
Yep. So, Doug, how have things changed?
Jess, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yep.
How has the world of RevOps changed since our first episode, November 10th, 2021?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's changed. How's it changed? Well, you know what? November 10th, 2021, we were, it was the go-go days. I mean, you go back to, Q4 2021, we were a year and a half post-pandemic, though just beginning to emerge.
Yep.
It was all tech all the time. It was a year before ChatGPT 3.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're in a much more difficult operating environment, and in November 2021, money was flowing. Interest rates, I think they were still pretty close to zero. I think it was before interest rates started kicking up. So we went from, forget peacetime, we went from party time to wartime pretty quickly.
Yep.
Although the funny thing is, if you take a look at non-tech spaces, they didn't have as much party time. They had a lot of free money.
Yeah.
And I think so I think there's been a lot of noise. I mean, to say that ChatGPT hasn't changed the world, that would be a lie. It has. It hasn't all been in a. So like the music's changed, but the dance hasn't so much. We're still doing the Dougie. What's your take? What's changed? How's the world of RevOps changed?
So,
you're more in the tranches of RevOps than I am.
Yeah. So, so obviously the sales cycles have increased. I've seen that for us internally. I've also seen that with clients in conversations.
You simulated something to me. You know what RevOps hasn't impacted enough?
What?
It's not impacting sales behavior enough.
Yeah.
It hasn't made life easier for salespeople. As easy, I don't want to say it hasn't helped salespeople, but it's not at that point of interaction, at the point of impact. It hasn't impacted at the point of impact enough.
So the biggest change I've seen having worked with our clients is so you hit on this a little bit when you were talking about people asking, I've never heard of RevOps. What is RevOps? So people are more aware of RevOps now, I think, than they were 3 years ago. They're working to define it. I don't think they understand what it is for the most part. So like it's they're looking to hire someone in a RevOps function, whether the title includes that or not. But they don't really know, like they're still working to find what is that and how does it fit within our organization. I'm seeing that like folks are more aware of that than they were 3 years ago.
You know, the thing that's interesting is when we started, RevOps was being defined by technology applications. There's less of it. RevOps today is now being defined too much by RevOps service providers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to be honest with you, we should not be the ones defining what RevOps is. Our clients. It's the business that needs to define that. This might be one of the first disciplines that was invented outside of the business unit.
Yeah.
All right, Jess, what's going to change when we're retrospecting episode 200, which will probably be 3 years from now?
Yep.
What's going to be different?
So I think RevOps is going to continue to grow in the business consciousness, is how I'll put it. I think you're going to see more RevOps teams form within organizations. You're going to see new roles put in place because of that awareness and attention that's being paid to it. We can talk about whether that's the right approach or not in future episodes. And then I think AI readiness is just going to become really important for organizations. AI usage is like, we saw it at Inbound, we saw it at the Salesforce conference. AI is here. Folks are going all in on AI. So that is going, and one thing that was interesting is us coming out of Inbound with several of our clients who saw them kind of really pushing AI. There are a lot of concerns about security. There are a lot of concerns about how do we direct our team. So AI readiness is going to become so important for the RevOps person or team to really make sure your company's ready. So those are my two big predictions.
I think 3 years from now, there's going to be a new position in RevOps called the AI Readiness Manager. Or, you know what's even better than the AI Readiness Manager? The AI Ombudsman.
The what?
The AI Ombudsman.
Ombudsman?
Ombudsman, yes. So the Ombudsman is a newspaper term. The Ombudsman is the person responsible. They're the eyes, the ears of the audience.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, I know what this is. Yeah.
Like they're making sure. So like, what makes a newspaper more than just a random set of articles? There's a theme, like there's an editorial philosophy of the newspaper. There's an approach. There's certain things that cause it to come together to be a publication, and for that publication to be an element of a community. And so, you know, one of the things that I'm happy to see, I was talking to an analyst and they were asking me about the response to all the Breeze announcements. And I said, well, other than the fact that we've had 2 clients ask if it's possible to turn it off. And I realized the way I said it came out wrong. Like they didn't ask to turn it off because they were saying it was silly, ridiculous, etc. It was about data security and wanting to make sure they understood it before. And those are good things, right? That's like, people treat resistance like it's bad, but it's not bad. That resistance, that friction about it is saying, okay, I'm making decisions. Are we? And so looking at it through that lens, again, to me is a good thing. It's a real thing. So I think what's going to change, I think AI is story today. I think 3 years from now, they'll be more real. Now, don't get like, there are places where AI is real, but I think 3 years from now, I think the AI story, I think people will be a little bit more, I think there'll be a healthier skepticism. I think the story won't play as well. It'll be a little bit more, where's the beef?
Yep.
I think that organizations will continue to be leaner. I think probably 3 years from now is when we'll be we will have passed peak leanness.
Mm.
But I think that the operating environment is going to be mainly positive, mixed with pockets of great turbulence, which, by the way, is a more traditional market. I think trees have stopped growing to the sky, and quality and value will you're I think it's going to be. I think our customers are going to continue to cocoon themselves, and I think the chasm between sellers and buyers is going to grow. So that aspect, that inbound aspect,
Hmm.
is going to become more important. That ability, I think one of the things I know that we need to work on for ourselves again, and for others is that ability to build audience. I'll tell you, you know who I would like to be right now. I would like to be a Broadway producer today,
Why is that?
because what enables you to be successful on Broadway
Hmm.
is what you need to bring to business today.
Mm.
I think you're going to see theater implications come in, because you know Times Square is just getting bigger and
Yep.
louder. Um, Good enough continues to become more than good enough. What I think there's such a focus on, like, everyone's so obsessed with better,
Hmm.
but what gets you audience is different.
Yeah.
Like you've got to be better. Better is expected, but better doesn't get you into the
Yeah.
show. Different gets you into the show.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, there's nothing worse for a show than building the ability to build a great audience and having a shitty show. I mean, how
Yeah.
many productions fail to get past their first week
Yeah.
because it's like so bad, right? But that flywheel of building organic audience, and what I think is going to happen, advertising is going to be about awareness, and bringing in advertising is going to be the bridge to organic, as opposed to looking at them as dual channels. And I think that's going to have a fundamental impact um, at all phases of business, small, medium, and large. I think that's where the big change is going to come.
I agree.
And you know what I hope, Jess?
What do you hope, Doug?
My hope is that over the next 3 years,
Hmm.
more companies will say no to shitty RevOps.
Looking forward to the next 100 episodes. Until next time.
And that's a wrap on our 100th episode of the RevOps Show. Listening to Jess and Doug's picks about their favorite episodes gave me some serious nostalgia for when those episodes were first created. And Doug's take on advertising being a bridge to organic growth at the end really stood out to me. I'm going to be interested to see what conversations come out of that statement. If you liked this episode, please be sure to follow us on your favorite listening platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel at The RevOps Show so you never miss an episode. If there's a topic you would like Doug and Jess to discuss, or if you have any questions for them, or even if you would like to sponsor an episode, shoot me an email at hannah@liftenablement.com. It's been a wild ride and we're just getting started. Here's to the next 100 episodes, and until next time, just say no to shitty RevOps.